Hey guys, and welcome back to Deep College Thoughts. So, we're just gonna get straight into this episode because
We have a lot to cover.
Kayla has a lot to say.
I don't have a lot to say.
Kayla does have a lot to say. Okay, so Kayla's gonna add these three photos at some point while I'm talking. So I just wanted to shout out my uncle before we started today's episode to say that I'm really proud of him and what he has. Keep that in there though. That's a nice blooper. What he has accomplished so far in life. Um, my uncle has been building a lot of relationships with kids in New Britain, Connecticut, within sports and outside of sports as well. My uncle used to box when he was younger, and now he has been a coach for not only football but also he's been coaching in a gym um, for boxing. Um, my uncle's always trying to do anything for the kids. He always put kids first in the neighborhood. He has one son, and he's always trying to do the best for him. So my uncle has created EJ's Bopping House. Um, EJ's Bopping House is not only for kids that want to take lessons in boxing, but for teenagers, adults. You just DM EJ's Bopping House, and he will let you know all of that information. Um, so recently, over this past weekend, he finally got his own gym where this can be more than just a boxing lesson and more than just, oh yeah, I'm just teaching you, you know? Um, the gym does have a lot of remodeling that needs to be done. So if you are in New Britain or in Connecticut, or if you just want to donate to this cause, you are more than welcome to donate. Um, And one thing that my uncle did state on his Instagram that really stuck out to me when he posted that he bought um, the gym and that's going to be EJ's Boppin' House is that this is not only going to be a gym. Like this, he does not want this place to just be a gym when you come to get your boxing lessons or whatever the case may be, but he wants it to make it a home place where you can go there and you feel at peace, you feel safe, like you're okay. And I feel like that's a good thing to have in a community because I know for at least myself, I was always doing sports or after school activities so I could be away from my house. And it wasn't like, oh, I just didn't want to be home. It was more like, yeah, I didn't want to be home, but there was nothing wrong at home. I just didn't want to be home. I didn't want to sit with my emotions.
You don't want to be bored.
Yeah, I didn't want to be bored. And a lot of teachers have impacted my life on that by letting me stay after school, a lot of coaches and things like that. So just know that EJ's Boppin' House is not only a gym, but it's going to be a place where he wants to make it feel like a home for the community and the kids and the teenagers and even the adults. But it is also a gym. And one last thing, if you would like to donate to help impact really the kid's life, he's trying to set up the gym where the kids don't have to spend that much money on lessons, so it'll be really cheaper, um, even though it is expensive no matter what. Um, but not only kids, literally community life, people, like anybody that he is willing to coach. Um, so the house picture that has all the prices of what you can donate is just the big stuff that he needs. But literally, he even says like even a dollar, even a penny, like anything will help him and help this gym for the community. Um, because yes, it's my uncle's gym, but he's more basing this gym off of the community. Like it's not like he doesn't look at things as, oh, this is mine. He's like, yes, this is mine, but this is gonna help so many other people. So the Cash App is at EJ's Boppin' House. When Kayla puts the pictures up, she could put the at. And the Instagram is at EJ's Boppin' House. So if you guys want to ever go and support or just see what my uncle's been up to with the gym and the boxing, you guys are more than welcome to follow Cash App if you want to. And yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so today's episode, we are going to have a debate and discussion between me and Kayla's thoughts on all of these topics. You can comment your thoughts or you can DM us on Instagram and tell us what you guys think. But the topics are mostly about like college student life and a young adult life, and not really. It's a mixture of both. You want to start us off?
Yeah. So there are some images in front of us that will be on the
Oh,
screen.
I forgot about that.
Um, and it's basically a little game time where we're gonna make memes out of these images. So my meme is here. It's a picture of Tina, and she's hiding in the bushes. But basically, it just reminds me of like when you're sitting still or trying to look busy so that the teacher won't call on you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. You ever started like reading something, like trying to look like, oh yeah, this is really interesting. So they won't call on you. No,
Or they start
seriously.
saying like they ask a question and everybody's just
You put
looking
your
at each
head
other.
down.
So like you start taking notes,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, for real.
um. So my meme would have to be the SpongeBob meme. And I kind of put like when other people say, "Yeah, I have anxiety." Jotty, yeah, I have anxiety. You know that SpongeBob episode where he's losing his mind, and that's what my brain looks like whenever I have anxiety. Like
Yeah.
that's just the one thing I could say. Like people be like, okay, but describe what happens when you're having anxiety or stress. And I'm like, you know that SpongeBob episode where his brain is literally on fire and he has no files in his brain and he's losing his mind? And they look at me and they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah, that's me. You know? Or you don't know.
I don't feel that way, but I know what
Oh,
you're talking about. When I
okay.
get anxious, I don't want anybody to. I get really angry. I don't want
So
anybody to
you look like
talk.
Coraline when you get
I don't want
anxious.
anybody to look at me. I don't say anything. I don't want to go
So
anywhere.
you get pissed off. What people would call pissed off, where like you just don't want to be bothered, you want to be left alone, or like you'll lash out.
Yeah, I just need a minute. Like you can obviously see that I'm in a state of distress, and it gets so much better. I mean, worse if like the radio's play.
Oh, okay. Now to get like into our topics. What is the value of a college degree?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that I could, I want to know if I want to just discuss or debate, you know?
Okay. I think that a college degree is a very valuable thing to have, especially if you're going into the medical field or you want to be a teacher or you're going to be a scientist or something like that. However, I do think that the meaning of like having a degree has changed from like our parents' times to our times. Back then, a degree was something that I'm not going to say that you didn't have to have, but a lot of people didn't have and they were okay. Um, Now it's getting harder for them, especially like if you're in your mid to late 40s, early 50s, and you're trying to look to switch careers, but you don't have a degree. It's going to be a very hard thing for you to do. But I think that having a degree, like in today, it marks a different status because it is so expensive to get a degree. There's so many things that go into getting a degree that people don't know about. So I do think that it is something still valuable to have, but I also think that it's something that's used to separate the elites, which I'm not saying that me or Jody are elite in any type of way. We are very fortunate to be where we are. But I do think, especially like with the higher level degrees, like your master's, your PhD, it's something that separates can you afford this versus can you not afford this? And sadly for us, it's becoming a very real thing where we're having to think about like, are we going to be able to afford this? Especially like if it's something that you need, like my degree's in psychology and sociology. Am I going to have to get at least a master's degree? Yes, I am. Can I afford that? We'll talk about it later, you know? We'll cross that road when we get there.
We will cross
You
that
know
road.
what I mean? So, I do think that yeah, it's
Especially
a
if you
very valuable
know the
thing to have.
prices have just been changing.
Yeah,
Like housing
and
went up
honestly,
what
it's not
five?
even tuition; it's the housing and everything else that you don't need to pay. Really, I mean, like you could live at home. I
But I feel
mean,
like if you live at home, no, I feel like housing's really expensive. But like gas, depending on where you live.
yeah, but if you're only commuting once a week, especially like if you get your master's degree, you're normally only having class once a week. So if you're commuting for
But then you
us,
have clinical hours that you have to do somewhere else where you would have to be driving anywhere. So it's like it's more just don't live at campus at that point. Put that money into getting a car and having gas.
you could, or like if you're living at home, um, try and find some place in your community. But
Yeah.
that's what I um that's what I think the value of a college degree is. I do think it's a very valuable thing to have. I think it's an honor to have one. I think that it should be a right instead of a privilege. But unfortunately, college is not free. And with the price of it going up, I don't mean to speculate, but I do think that it's becoming like an elite thing. Like if you don't have the money, you can't pay for it, you can't have it, you can't get the good job. So, what do you think?
I can't even debate. I mean, I grew up where if you don't have your high school diploma or your college degree, you will be nothing in life. And still to this day, like my great grandmother pushes that, like, um, to even my cousin that's about to graduate high school and he doesn't want to go to university. He literally says, I want to go to trade school and maybe go to community college to get a business associate's degree or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, if you know that going to a 4 year university isn't going to help you and you're just going to be wasting time and money, then don't do it. You know, there's also like I wouldn't even say like the value of a college degree. It's what do you want to make your life in the future compared to a value of a college degree? Because what you want in life is something totally different than if you need the value of a college degree. You know, because there are some people out here that go to the military and they're just military for the rest of their life, having a good old time, you know? So, do you really need a college degree? But also, me growing up, it was always, oh, if I don't go to college, I'm going to be nothing in life. I'm going to end up like Bill Joe, the homeless person asking for change on the street. And now I'm to the point where, like, wait, I'm actually privileged to be here. Like, I do not have a right to be here. This is not public education. I mean, it is, we're at a public university, but it's not like public school where elementary school, middle school, high school, if you don't go, it's it's your mom's fault. You know, like your parents can get in trouble. Like, no, you're paying to go here. You're paying to get this paper. Now, I don't think we should be paying as much for this piece of paper.
That'll come up later, won't
But
it?
you know, um but yeah, but it's also like I feel like the value of your college degree comes within what are you going to do with that degree, you know?
Yeah, but I also think that it's cultural too. Um, you know, or just based on like my parents really pushed college because neither one of them went to college. I do
Yeah.
think that even if your parents did go to college, they would push college, but I think that they would be more open to okay, there are different avenues. You don't want to go to college. This is what we can do for you because they're probably in a better position to help you. Okay, guys, we're just gonna act like that didn't happen.
Yeah, there's definitely a ghost in here and it's
Anyway,
totally okay.
um, and then uh, you have to look at cultural stereotypes. To be honest, like not saying that all of them are true, but um, when I was in high school, um, it was definitely a lot more of the people who were better off, um, who just happen to be white who were deciding not to go to college, and that's okay. Where you had the people of color, like the Hispanic people, black people, Asian people, whose parents are really pushing them, like, what do you mean you're not going to go to college? Even though we graduated with an associate's degree, there was still no, you graduated with an associate's degree, now you're done. You graduated with your associate's degree, now you have to go further.
Yeah.
So I do think that
I
it aligns with your culture too.
I didn't graduate my associate's degree, but it was really big to even graduate high school. Like I'm the first one on my mom's side of the family to not get their GED and actually like finish high school besides I think one of my girl older cousins finished high school, but then she went to community college, so she didn't go to a university. Um and it was also like, oh, I'm graduating high school, what's next? And like all throughout my senior year, I already knew what college I was going to. I already knew like at the beginning, like first semester I was weighing out my options, but as soon as October hit, I already knew. I was just waiting for an acceptance, you know? And yes, I had backup plans and everything, but I already knew. But it does, I feel like it has changed just because when I would visit college campuses on like the, oh, middle school, you can see what you're gonna do like after high school. Um, it was Winston-Salem State University, right? No,
WSSU.
yeah. Um, so Winston-Salem, UNC Charlotte, um, UNC Greensboro, and Queen's University in Charlotte, and there was one more, Chapel Hill, and NC State. So going there while I was in middle school, there was not a lot of people that looked like me. There was not a lot of people. Like, yes, there was people, but it wasn't really big as it is now today. Like, I remember when I went eighth grade year, I went to UNCG to just visit like random like middle schoolers mixed with high schoolers just to see. And it wasn't as diverse as it is right now. I could say that. And that was what, like 5 years ago? 6 years ago? Am I doing the math right?
Yeah, but it should have been diverse.
But I feel like we're more diverse now. Like our numbers are way higher.
Okay.
And I feel like also I feel like when you go like when I went on the tour, there wasn't a lot of you know how like our tourists are like all diverse. Like we have white, black, Hispanics and all of that. All of the tourists for our little group were all white. And then when I came in January of my senior year of high school, I did the little admissions day and all of that. And I did a tour just to see what would campus look like. And I saw it so diverse where I was like, I could stay here, you know? Okay, let's start this one.
Okay, free speech versus hate speech. Where should universities draw the line between protecting free speech and preventing hate speech? Now, um, I'm going to be honest. I don't really understand what this question is asking, so I do need you to go first because it says where should universities draw the line between protecting free speech and preventing hate speech, but are universities responsible for what people say? I don't think they are, unless it's somebody that um, you're working for the school or you are a representative, maybe like you're a part of a club or you're one of the SOS. But I don't think that universities are responsible for what people say. The university in and of itself has nothing to do with what you say.
Okay, but when should they draw the line between like last semester when they were cutting classes in like all these different majors and minors and stuff, and everybody was protesting outside of the alumni house.
Okay, so you mean like
When it comes to people speaking about the university,
uh-huh.
where should they draw the line between protecting free speech, which you do have,
Mhm.
but preventing hate speech before it turns into, you know how like some universities, like the main reason why I didn't want Deep College Thoughts to have anything to do with UNCG or any college name in general is because
You wanted to say
when
what you wanted to
I
say?
want to say what I want to say, you know?
Mhm.
So where should they draw the line? Because
Well then back literally what you just said is you didn't want it to have anything to do with UNCG because you wanted to say what you wanted to say. So what I'm saying is are these people saying stuff on behalf of UNCG or are
are
they
they
just
just saying
saying
stuff
it?
about UNCG?
Yeah, because like the people who were protesting for the the programs to not be cut,
Mm-hmm.
they were talking about UNCG, and a lot of them were employed. But as far as I know, no one lost their job due to the
So
protests.
I feel like it goes back to, I guess you want to prevent hate speech whenever it's like you work here and you're hurting that environment. Like, let's say a professor was like, oh, well, I don't know how to give a good example.
What's the difference between freedom, like free speech, and hate speech?
Free speech is just whatever you want to say, but you also have the freedom to hate speech.
Right. So, what is hate speech?
Literally, freedom of speech. Because
Are
it's just
you
your
are you
opinion.
saying that hate speech is anything that goes against what the majority is thinking, or hate speech is like,
I feel like hate speech could be like
or like it's
protesting and rioting. Because, yeah, you're chanting and stuff like that, but you're also like, I don't want to say doing bad, but like you're harming. Like hate speech is when you're harming in
okay,
some type of way.
okay,
At least what I think.
okay.
Because I feel like you have the right to say anything you want to say.
You do.
So I feel like, yeah, I could be like, Kayla, I hate you right now, you know? And
No,
what are you going to do? I have freedom to say that. What are you going
right,
to do? Go tell somebody that I said I hate you? Okay, so what, you know?
right,
But I
and
feel like when
we'll
it's.
get there because there's another question, but I have a response for what she just said.
But I feel like when you're causing
Mhm,
harm in a physical way where it's no longer just speech,
mhm.
where it's
Well, then
speech,
that doesn't count.
but it does count.
It doesn't count if that doesn't like what doesn't count for this is what I'm saying. If you're actively harming somebody,
Not harming somebody, like okay, let's say there's a protest
mhm,
and they're cutting classes and courses and majors and minors, you know, and all of that. Like if they were to cut social work, I would protest,
mhm,
but while I'm protesting, I would have a backup plan. Like I would want to go somewhere else. Because it's like, why am I wasting my money and all of that? And actually, I would say so much on the internet that I will probably regret later in life. But I know I'd rather my voice be heard because I have freedom of speech.
mhm.
But I would also say some horrible stuff where it would have hate speech. I wouldn't do harm though, like physical harm to the university or anything like that.
Okay,
You know? Have
okay.
you ever done hate speech?
What do you mean hate speech? Because I mean bullying is hate speech.
Have you ever bullied
Yeah,
somebody?
definitely.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna say like
Kayla's my biggest bully,
my
guys.
thing is everybody bullies everybody. Okay, you you're no better than anybody because just the things that you think you might not say them out loud, but like
You're bullying
you could
them
see
in your
somebody walk
mind.
by and be like, and automatically you just bullied somebody. So I mean, I guess it doesn't affect the person when you only say it in your head. Um, but
But have you
you
bullied
can't tell
somebody
me
in
that
your.
nobody's ever said anything negative to anybody because we all have. I've never bullied anybody like
You bully
yeah,
me all the time.
you don't count.
Oh, I don't count. You
Um,
hear this, guy?
no, you don't count. So this next question is: should colleges have designated free speech zones, or should students be allowed to express their views anywhere on campus? Hmm, I love this. And so I say people should be able to say what they want, when they want, where they want. If what they're doing is trying to invoke some type of reaction, if they get the reaction they're looking for, if they have to suffer the consequences, that's their fault. But I do think, going back to that good old First Amendment, you should be able to say what you want, where, and how you want to say it.
I also feel like you can't. I don't know how it would work like at Duke and places like that because that's like a private college, right? Private
Mm-hmm.
university.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like maybe at a private university they have like zones for those things. But I also feel like at private universities things like this don't really happen. I don't know. I'm just saying like I know if like I not even I owned, but like my mindset is like, oh, it's a private university. I feel like those people will fund to only have free speech zones, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Where public universities, there's, I mean, it's government funding most of the time, you know? Not by like private people. So you can be allowed to express yourself wherever, whenever on campus, you know?
Here,
Yeah.
I need you to repeat the whole thing.
Oh, okay. So, how I'm thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Private university.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, you know, private university, like, oh yeah, my dad owns this building and this is why I live in it, and like he funds this school, so like I can do whatever I want.
No, no, I don't know that.
You don't know that?
Mm-mm. Because I know that the law eventually will catch up with you.
Oh yeah, I know that, but I'm saying like how they're thinking.
Okay,
You
how
with
they're
me now?
thinking. Maybe.
Okay. So like therefore, right? What if
Mm-hmm.
they're like, "Oh, well, I don't like all these protests that are happening, so I'm going to fund for this private university to have a free speech zone."
That's literally called lobbying. The government does it. I'm pretty sure that's what lobbying is. It's not illegal. I think that's what lobbying is. Hold on.
Compared to like, you know?
Yeah, lobbying, any attempt by individuals or private interest groups to influence the decisions of the government. Okay, so it's not the government, but it's still lobbying. It's completely legal to do.
So that's what I'm saying.
I
Then
think
they
it's legal.
could. So you really could, if you wanted to, and you had the money to, and the funds, design a free speech zone. But I feel like that would more be towards
But
private
you
universities.
maybe, but also I don't think that a free speech zone would just override the First Amendment. You know what I mean? Because
I don't
people
think so
can say
either.
whatever they
I
want to
don't think so
say anyway.
either.
I mean, if you just wanted to be openly racist, you could be openly racist.
And you
I'm not
can.
saying it's a good thing, but I know plenty of people who are just openly racist. So, I mean, they're living their best life. I'm living mine. But I don't.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it could happen. But I feel like it's less likely to happen in a public university because there's so many, like, students that would fight more than at a private university. Because private universities, I feel like they're more.
Are you saying they're more hive minded mm, at like a private university? They all think the same. They're all one trick mind. Like they all have
I'm
the
not
same
saying that because
interests.
everybody's different, but I'm
Right.
saying more of the people in charge
Uh huh. More the
are
people that matter, basically.
not the people that matter. Everybody matters, Kayla.
Okay, well, the people that are paying for this stuff is what you're saying.
Yeah, the people that actually would have a say, like us. They were cutting courses and classes. We didn't have no say.
No.
We could say as much as we wanted to say about it.
Right.
I mean, it didn't really affect me, but I know people it affected, and it was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's also like, you know,
Sounds like you just said the same thing, because like you just said, like what happened here, people protested, people whatever, and still nothing changed.
Oh, but like we were protesting anywhere on campus.
Right. You can,
Mostly inside of the outside of the alumni house because we were protesting during the meetings that were happening in the alumni house.
right.
So that's like the biggest place to be in that at that time. But there was also posters all around campus. People were talking about it all around campus, in class, outside of class, so
But to answer the question, I don't think
I don't
that
think so
colleges should
either.
have designated free speech zones. I do think that people should, well, people can say whatever they want to say, where they want to say it, when they want to.
At any time.
Yeah.
Are we going back now? I feel like you have a good point of view on this because I would say, college should just be free.
I also agree that college should be free, but it's not.
I feel like your bachelor's degree should be free.
Okay.
And then maybe, actually, I feel like all education should be free if we're
I
just
do
being
not.
honest. But I feel like, at a minimum, your bachelor's degree should be free. And then once you go into your master's and your PhD and all of that, you should pay
Okay.
at a cheap price. Not super cheap, but at a cheap price.
As somebody who comes from an early college, I think that the opportunity to get your associate's degree in high school should be given to everybody. Um, I also do agree to an extent, but for the most part, that your bachelor's degree should be less than $1,000. I cannot say completely free because, if everything was free, I don't know how that would work. To be honest, I do think that our economy would collapse if everything just changed overnight. But I do
Yeah, but
think that
that's
they should start.
overnight.
I think that they should start lessening the price instead of going up. But they really can't do that because inflation. Um,
Because we live in America.
but the question is, should student loans be forgiven, and if so, what extent? And I do think that student loans should be forgiven, depending on your income that you had before college, so your parents' income, or if you were going based off of your income and the income that you make, um, that you start making after you leave. Um,
Like, as soon as after you leave and get your job, because
yeah, when you're employed.
like, like, depending on what degree you get and depending on what state you live in, like, what if I get my master's here, I take out student loans, but then I move to California, and I'm making more money in California than I would have as a social worker in North Carolina.
That, but also the cost of living is extremely expensive in California. So would you really be making any more? No, probably not. So yeah, I do think that it should be based off of your income before and after school. Um, just because if it is based off of your income before school, it might be a little bit more forgiving, especially if you aren't in the best place financially. Like if they say, okay, this is where that student came from, this is where they are, um, and then maybe they could come up with a percentage so that you would pay each month for your student loans. Not really sure, but I know they could do something.
Yeah.
Okay, Jody, you're going to start with this question.
Which one is that
What
one?
is the impact of fraternities and sororities on campus culture? And are they beneficial or problematic?
Okay, so my mom's about to hate me for this one, but I'm gonna explain the best way possible so my mom don't get no hate. So, growing up, well, my mom's growing up and like what has she told me about fraternities and sororities and all of that, is that they were always like, I don't know how to explain it. Like it wasn't a good thing to her. But also I feel like fraternities and sororities are a big thing down south and not up north.
Okay, yeah.
So I feel like her point of view was like really bad, and everything that like she heard about people and like stories and stuff in fraternities and sororities
Hmm.
was just really bad.
Hmm.
Like there was not like what I know, like what I know with sororities, at least aka sororities, because that's what a lot of my teachers were in and my principal was in. So whenever I asked about stuff like that, that was the only sorority that came up because that's all they know more, but that's what they could really
Talk about, because
talk
that's what
about
they
because they lived.
experience.
Um, it was like a sisterhood. It was really good and it was really fun. A lot of events on campus and outside of campus, and they really felt like they made some relationships that they still have to this day,
Mm-hmm.
after years of being out of college. So I feel like it all depends on the person that you are and how you grow up, where it could be beneficial or problematic. I know for me, it would be really problematic for me. I just don't think I could. That's just not who I am?
Right.
How about you?
Please don't come for me when I say this. Um, but personally, I have always viewed fraternities and sororities as kind of like cults. And and I'm not saying that anybody who joins a frat or a sorority is a part of a cult, because I don't know. I've never been in one. I don't know what it's like. But in the media, I know I've never really seen good things. I think like through friends or mutuals on social media, I have seen that some sororities, I don't know about fraternities, do help people. But for the media to put such a heavy stigma on like the hazing whole type of situation, which is actually what I have pulled up here on my laptop, because actually last last semester, one of the frats here on campus was suspended for 10 years because
Oh yeah,
yeah, they got
they.
accused of hazing. And I
Mhm.
just found out that North Carolina has an anti-hazing law. Now thought I knew that the university had a policy against it, which I'm looking at right now, and it says the University of North Carolina at Greensboro does not support any forms of hazing. Community members are encouraged to utilize the concerning behavior form if they are concerned about potential hazing incidents, and it has a whole bunch of like the definition of hazing and just different things. And right here it has the North Carolina state law. And so I pulled it up, and it says it is unlawful for any student in attendance at any university, college, or school in this state to engage in hazing, which I never knew. I mean, I guess it makes sense for it to be a law, but I didn't know that it was a law. And so I think that just seeing um, one of our big frats, like the frats that held the parties, getting suspended for 10 years, like it just made me think even have an even more negative view about fraternities and sororities.
But it's not only that. I feel like also like there's a lot of movies
Yeah, in the media.
and it's just like party life. Like there's this movie and it's called like Neighbor, and this like frat basically lives in this neighborhood outside of campus, and they throw parties every night, and their next door neighbor literally just had a newborn baby, and they have like a hot mess. They get into a fight, the cops get involved, the cops don't do anything. So I feel like yes, that's a comedy movie, and obviously it's not real, like it's not a based on a true story type of movie, but I feel like when you put things out like that, even though it is comedy, it's not really good when you put things out like that, and there's not a lot of good movies or media showing the good that sororities and fraternities do.
Hmm.
So I guess me and Kayla would never be in a sorority.
Oh no, I don't have any money. They're also very expensive to be in. You have to pay.
Oh, I didn't really know
Yeah, you
that.
think it's free?
I literally have never did. I never did any research of joining one because I just don't
No.
want to.
No, neither. I've
So,
never done any research either, but I know that they're not, which is normally why you see a certain type of, but, you know, they're not free.
oh, okay, that
They're
explains a
not
lot.
free.
That explains a lot now. That actually explains a lot.
Yeah, they're not free.
That explains a lot.
Okay, I'm glad that explains a lot. Okay, should
Yeah.
students prioritize work experience, internships, and extracurriculars over academic performance? What is the best balance? Obviously, no, you should not prioritize all these other things over academic performance. That's what
Okay,
you're
but
here
wait. No,
for.
no, 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 no. Because, okay, let's say social work. I had to do volunteer hours to pass my class. They're telling me it literally states if I do not do 25 hours of volunteer work, I will fail that class.
Hmm.
So that's when you should prioritize it.
Hmm. But it says over academic performance. If you never would have passed the class, if you wouldn't have been doing your work, all those little hours that you would have taken would have been for nothing. So obviously, you should not
But
prioritize
it wouldn't
that.
be for nothing though, because you could literally just say, "Oh, this is my experience," and you could put it down on your resume.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that you failed the class.
But you can get a job still.
With the failed class?
Yeah, with a failed class, you know. But you still did the volunteer hours. You still did the internship. You may not have done any of the classwork, but you got the experience. I wouldn't do that, but I know there's some people out there that would do that.
Well, if you're one of those people who would prioritize your job experience over your degree, the degree for the job that you want, you might want to check yourself because I don't think that you're going down the right road. Now, I know that it's very easy to prioritize work and extracurriculars over your schoolwork. I've done it, I do it. Not actively, but it's happened before. That's really when you have to put yourself in check, and it's a hard thing to do. But really, you're gonna have to tell yourself, I know I'm gonna be a little stressed. Okay, there's stress is inevitable. You can take as much ashwagandha as you want. You are still gonna be stressed.
Oh,
So you have to tell yourself, I know I'm gonna go through it. Tuesdays are literally my worst days. Um, but you'll make it. That's what I tell myself. I set time aside in my planner to get everything done, and I just have to sit down and work through it. It does get a little bit more tricky when you're trying to balance extracurriculars with a job and school. Um, but if it's first of all, you have to check yourself and know if this is something that you can do. Because if you've never been much of a doer, then there's no way that you're going to be able to do your schoolwork and have a job and extracurricular at the same time. Um, if you could drop the job, I would say drop the job because if you're in high school, extracurriculars are important for your college application. Now, if you're in college and you have extracurriculars, I would say maybe cut down on the amount of extracurriculars you have because I know college is expensive and you probably do need that job over the extracurriculars. Um, but that's just my take. What's yours? Or are
oh,
you
my
done?
actual take, or why I was trying to argue with you.
Your
um,
actual take.
my actual take would have to be I really can't say much just because this is my first year in college where I have a job
Mhm.
and I have extra activities with the HHS leadership program. So this is week 3 of school and I'm still trying to figure it out.
Okay.
I'm living, it's working, but I'm trying to figure it out where I can get enough sleep at night because I'm really lacking sleep.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. Genuinely, if you can get in that REM sleep and get good REM sleep, you only need about 3 hours of sleep. Now they say 8 hours, whatever. Do not believe that, okay? You really only need about 3 to 4 hours of sleep. Anything past that, I start to feel a little too rested.
Why is everybody laughing? I'm
I
gonna
don't know.
laugh.
I don't know. But
What do you mean too rested? Like you wake up tired?
yes. Like I wake up feeling like I need to get back to sleep. Which is why I found like the
Yo, when do you ever sleep? You take a nap during the day though, because sometimes I text you and you be like, "Oh, I just woke up."
I'll sleep for 3 hours. I don't need any more sleep. I don't need any more sleep after that. I'm telling you guys, there is a method to this madness.
Okay, should there be a universal basic income and how might it impact recent students?
Hmm.
Graduates, not students, sorry.
That's okay. What do you think?
Um, I feel like there would never be a basic income though.
Are we not talking about minimum wage here? Should there not be a universal basic income?
Yeah, there should, but also every minimum wage is different in every state.
Hmm.
So if we're talking about here in North Carolina, why is it still at 7.25? Because you can look up and be like, oh, but I have my degree. And when I look up on Google and my degree says I'm going to make this amount of money, by state law, they can start you at 725. Am I wrong or am I correct? Because that's how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, they can. Which is only, if you work 40 hours a week, there's only 580. And let's just say you'll take home 500.
So I think really,
But then at that point, you are living below the poverty line. I do believe. If you're making 500 every 2 weeks, which is 1,000, so 1,000 times 12. I should know that, but I don't, obviously. It's only $12,000 a year. I think I did that math right. Um, if I didn't, I'm sorry. But I do think that $20,000 is the poverty line.
so
Oh, yeah. The federal poverty line threshold of a family of four is $29,000. So basically $30,000. Anything under that is poverty. You are impoverished.
so I think that
So even if you did have two adults in the home, both making that $12,000 a year, that's still only $24,000. So yeah, you would be impoverished. Wow.
I think literally minimum wage should just be the minimum of living. Like literally, you're making $30,000 a year, and that should be the minimum.
Okay. So
But it
you
also
think that if
depends.
the poverty line is 30,000, then that starting wages should be enough to get you at least $30,000 a year.
And a little extra.
Okay.
Because also, like, prices are going up, housing is going up, like, nothing's going down.
Mm-hmm.
So, as prices go up, you should get a little bonus raise
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing things the correct way.
Well, that is how most jobs work.
Not all jobs, but
No, not
yeah.
all jobs, but like most corporate jobs, or I don't know, anything that you don't really have to go to school like to be the next level. Um,
I literally started working at my first job. Me and this girl both got in at the same time,
mhm.
right? I got out of training before her and got my raise. And then on top of me getting out of training, a month later, I moved on to level 2. So you get another raise once you like achieve so much.
Mhm.
And I was at level 2 when I had to quit because I moved. She was finally getting to level 2.
Takes some people longer.
It takes some people longer, but she was doing the exact same thing that I was doing.
If your work ethic was better. Oh yeah.
So it's just like if we're both putting in the same effort and doing the exact same job, you know?
But are you both putting in the same effort? If your work ethic is better, if you're taking less time to do something, if you can do three things while she's doing one thing, you know what I mean? Is it really equal work?
I think it was more she was just shy and
Okay.
I was just down to do anything. Like she would do it, but she wouldn't want to talk to people. and she wouldn't ask questions. Me, yeah, let's get this done. How do I do it? Okay, I do it this way, and then I do it this way. Okay, and they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna walk off, and you got to do it on your own. And then if I was like, wait, he said this way, but I gotta, can you show me one more time? Because I was so afraid that I was gonna mess something up, and I'm still like that to this day.
Right. To answer the question, I do think that there should be a minimum wage. Do I think that it should be more than 7.25? Yes, I do.
I think it should be more than $15, to be honest, too.
But I also started working at 7.25, so I know what it's like. And I can say I don't think that anybody can raise a family off of 7.25.
Okay, but
Not
you
think I
started working at 7:25, and you were still in high school. Like, it's not like, oh, as soon as you turned 18, or as soon as you turned 15 and you're legal of age to work, like, and you moved out of your parents' house because you didn't care and you were living off of 7:25.
That's what I just said. I just said I do think there should be a minimum wage. I know what it's like to work at 7.25, and I know that you cannot raise a family off of it. I was working well over 80 hours every 2 weeks, and I wasn't even breaking $1,000. So, like I said,
Moral of the story is talk to management.
moral of the story is if the job isn't paying enough and you have the resources to leave, then leave and try and find a better job. It's very hard to find a job in this economy. Everywhere is hiring, but nowhere is also hiring. And that's something that becomes apparent when you start looking for a job, because genuinely they would rather overwork the workers that they already have than pay a new person. It's easier to do. Especially if you've been at a company for a long time, it's going to be harder for you to say no, which is why I didn't say no
Also,
to a
if
lot
you
of
have a
things.
job and you just started and they're telling you that you're fired, just know you weren't doing your job correctly.
Right. And also know that North Carolina is an at will state. They can fire you for any reason. Actually, they don't even have to have a reason. So, as long as they're not discriminating against you, as long as it's not because your race, your gender, your age, your whatever sexual orientation, hey, they don't like the way you smell, you're fired. I don't know. They can fire you for anything.
Okay, so next question, I'm gonna really shorten because that's too much to talk about.
Okay.
But should universities be responsible for providing like mental health, wellness resources, basically any doctors, um, fitness and nutritionists on campus? Um, and by being responsible for providing all of that stuff, I mean, um, it's within your tuition.
hmm
Or maybe it shouldn't be within your tuition. I think we live here, everything should be free.
I do think
We
that it
already
is
pay
in
too
our
much.
tuition. I think that it's in our tuition right now. The fitness facilities, we pay for that.
We do pay for the fitness facilities.
Nutrition, we pay for that.
We
That's our
do.
food. Mental health, I'm pretty sure we pay a surcharge for.
That's the one that's all the way back there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But they don't like, okay, so with our university, you either have to have your own insurance or you pick up their insurance.
hmm
And if you pick up their insurance, it will cover you for on campus, like going to I don't know, what is it called? What is that place called?
I just call it the health center.
The health center. Um, and everything will be covered because you're already paying for their insurance.
Right,
Now,
which is
me,
$1,400.
I don't have their insurance. And if I was to go there right now and even get a COVID test or a flu test, I have to pay $150 out of pocket.
Yep, it's called a copay.
So I think that you should be able to go to the doctor, I mean, the health center, in certain circumstances. Like, I'm literally dying right now and I need somebody to check me. Like, that should be covered automatically.
Yes, I agree. I do think that anywhere should take your insurance. I do think that as expensive as it is, I do think that it is important for you to have insurance while you are in college. But I do think that if you already have insurance, that that they should take your insurance. Now, I'm not sure if it's a matter of the university doesn't take our insurance or our insurance company just will not work with the university. Um, I don't know which one is the case, but uh, I do think that you should be able to go to the health center here on campus um, whenever you need to and not have to pay $100 for a COVID test because that is ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. How has Gen Z approached activism compared to previous generations? Um, I feel like because of all of our previous generations and just hearing or even seeing what has happened in the past 50 years, um, has made a big impact, you know? Because there's actual, like, film, there's actual proof. Like, even though our history goes back to having so much proof, but, like, I feel like a lot of our history didn't start being recorded until, like, I would say, like, 60s.
Okay.
Like, recorded that, like, there's a film. Like, I could see what's going on.
Okay.
So then
Is it
having, like, looking back all of that,
what's the
like,
difference between seeing it and reading it though?
reading it, anybody can write anything down and just say it was history and date it, and then it becomes history.
Yeah, that is how most things happen. Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, so in order for you to believe it, you need to see it.
Yeah. Which is why my biggest fear is going illegally blind, because at that point, just kill me.
So, well, but wait, let me get this right.
Uh-huh.
If you cannot see it, you don't believe it.
No, it's not that I don't believe it. It's just that I'm a little iffy about it.
Okay.
Like, you have to convince me.
About anything?
Not about anything.
Oh, okay.
Because, Kayla, sometimes you be saying stuff, and I be like, is that real? Because sometimes you just make it sound so real.
That's
And that's
genuinely how I
maybe
feel
why I
about
have trust
everything you
issues.
say. I genuinely feel that way about everything you say. Is that
Really?
real? Yes.
That's how I feel about everything you say.
Good. Keep questioning it. I know I'm telling the truth.
But I know I'm telling the truth.
Okay, good for you. I don't know if you're telling the
So
truth.
you don't believe me? Anyways, back to my question. I feel like since I have seen so much stuff that I can bring back to 1960s, I would say. Like, even like my family, like baby pictures, photos of stuff, that's when I can believe it.
Mhm.
Like, don't tell me these stories and there's no proof. Don't tell me these stories.
What you mean? Don't tell you these stories and there's no
Don't
proof?
tell me that my grandma was working in the tobacco field and there's no proof of the goddamn tobacco field.
Okay, wait. So you mean like your own family's history, or just history in general?
No, history in general. I'm saying I can go back to my proof in my family from the 1960s, but we can also go back in American history to, like, I would say I would start believing American history maybe like 1920s. Anything before that, I don't really believe it. Like, I believe it to an extent, but I believe more not the history part of it, but the science behind it. Does that make sense?
Mm-mm. No. But that's okay. It doesn't have to make sense to me. Because if you're gonna you look at me and you're like, hey, Christopher Columbus didn't take no pictures, man. There is no America.
No, it's not that. Like, that stuff I believe, but it's to an extent, because it's like, so you're just gonna tell me that Christopher Columbus came and found America when there was already people here and we didn't go to, like, small wars, or people didn't start fighting him?
Okay, so you just don't know your history because people did. There were.
I know there was people fighting him and all of that, but it was just like, okay, so somebody that's,
Would you
came.
want somebody to paint it out for you? You want a
Give a
painting?
visual.
You want a painting?
Yeah,
You want somebody as there's active war just painting? There
yeah.
are paintings.
There's not a lot of them though. Like I
Hey,
wouldn't say.
I mean,
Okay, I think it's because
paint
I'm
is
the
expensive. What does she want, man? Like, you want us to go back in time with a 4K camera?
Yes.
Okay, okay. When you figure out how to do it, go ahead and do it.
Please. I wish I can go back in time and like just see everything before I was born,
Okay.
so that I can make sure that I was never born.
Okay, so how has Gen Z's approach to activism compared to previous generations? I do think that Gen Z is more outspoken.
Yeah, we're outspoken because of what we have saw and what have we heard and seen.
Heard.
Yeah, heard.
Okay.
I'm used to saying heard because whenever something's ready in the kitchen or my chicken's ready and somebody asks for it, I just be like heard.
Um, so I do think that Gen Z is more outspoken. Um, only because uh, I don't know why, to be honest.
It's literally my point. Kayla can't argue with me. That's why. You
I can't argue with
you
you.
can't argue with me.
But on why Gen Z is more outspoken, I think that Gen Z is wrong in a lot of ways.
I mean, I
I
never
think
said we
they're
were
just
right.
when it comes to protesting, I think that a lot of times we're loud and right, but a lot of times we're loud and wrong. And I do think that a lot of people just want to be heard. I think that there are a lot of Gen Z makes up a lot of things to try and solve issues that were never issues. Um,
So they just want
I
attention.
think, yes, I
Okay.
do think that it is a trauma thing, though, from previous generations because other generations were not able to speak out as much. So I do think that we have, um, we're trying to shift so much that the shift is so drastic that,
It's
I don't know.
creating
It, yes,
chaos. Okay.
it's not a good place to live right now. Well, in my opinion.
I feel like we answered this next one. I think I just wrote it down because my little cousin was asking me that question, to be
Okay.
honest. And should standardized tests like SAT or ACT be required for college admissions?
Or should they be eliminated?
And I think they should go because
Okay.
people have test anxiety. I feel like maybe they should be optional,
Mm-hmm.
and they could take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like it should be required. Like, oh, you need to take this test and get this amount correct before we can even look at you.
Okay. I disagree. I think that it should be based on the school that you're going to or the program that you're trying to get into. I understand test anxiety, but I do not want my doctor to have surgery anxiety, okay? And so that if you cannot do good on the SAT or ACT, I don't think that you should get into Duke. I don't think that you should get into Yale or Harvard because I do think that it is, you know, you have to show that you are qualified.
Okay, but that's why you go to college and you learn, and then you actually get your license in whatever you want, or whatever you pass your test and do whatever you.
Right, but should you be learning at such high caliber if you can't understand?
I could understand. Like all high school, I literally had maybe like 2 C's in high school. Everything else was an A or a B.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I failed one class during COVID. Okay, and it was honors English too, and it was because I just didn't feel like doing work. I feel like a lot of people didn't feel like doing work, and I was to the point where I didn't even feel like cheating, so I just took the F. You
Okay.
know, and all of my teachers that have advocated for me when I was going through my really bad testing anxiety phase, my junior and senior year of high school, will tell you I don't understand how this girl is making a 100 or a 90 something in my class, and when she takes a test, she's making a 60 something or even a zero.
Okay.
And it's because I freak out so much where I literally, oh, don't ever tell me you have a pop quiz. Every professor that I have right now, I have told them, do not tell me you have a pop quiz because I will walk out of this class and start crying.
Okay. And as traumatic as that is for you, I don't think that's the case for everybody. And that's why I do think that standardized testing and ACT should be required, depending on if it's an Ivy League school. Obviously, I do think that it should be required. How has the rise of remote work changed student internships and job prospects? What are the pros and cons of working remotely? Now, I'm not really sure because I've never done an online internship or worked online, but I do think that working remotely, your biggest pro would be you can do it from anywhere. Okay, if you want to travel, as long as you have reliable Wi-Fi, you can do it from anywhere. The con would be you actually have to do it. You have to make sure that you're getting up on time every day and doing your job. And I just don't think that that would be possible for me. Well, not for like you know I don't know like a corporate job. I don't think I could do it.
I feel like it has changed a lot of students' internships and job perspectives just because with being remote, you could literally talk to somebody anywhere and have a Zoom meeting and have them tell you about their experience during the
Mm,
internship or how they work things out. Or literally, you can give a student an internship and you live all the way in Alaska and they're all the way in Florida.
yeah,
So it
it's a good
has,
thing to do if you
it's
can
a
do
good
it.
thing if you could do it. But me personally, I can't do it. How do college rankings affect student choices? I feel like I have said this, but I've only said this about like when it comes to football and sports. But it's also like, oh, Yale University is the best university. Oh, Harvard, UCLA, um,
Brown,
Duke, Chapel Hill. A lot of these schools, um, I feel like a lot of these schools' names you hear either because they just have high, um, what is the word I'm looking for? Like they're
they're
either
Ivy League.
yeah, or they're just really good at sports.
Um, I think that when you're looking, I don't know anybody who chose a school based off of sports unless they were going on a football or basketball or baseball scholarship. That's it. Um, Now, I'm not saying that people don't, but I don't know anybody personally, so I can't really speak to that. But if you're going based off of like, oh, this is an Ivy League school, I really want to go to an Ivy League school, I do say shoot for the stars, but also remember there are low hanging ones. If your dream school to get into is Yale or Harvard or Brown or something like that, great, apply. Also apply to like the lower level. Um, schools. Like for us, it'd be Chapel Hill and NC State. Those are going to be your next best. Um, and then also apply to some, like UNCG, UNCC, WCU. I think only North Carolina residents are going to understand that, but that's okay. Um, so it's okay to have dreams, but you also have to be realistic about your skills.
Yeah, saw a TikTok. This is on topic but off topic, and it was these three best friends. They all applied to Yale, Brown, Harvard. Um, I think it was like seven different schools, and they all had a different dream school. So one was Princeton, the other one was Yale, and the other one was, I want to say, Harvard. Yale didn't get into Yale, but she got into Princeton. Princeton got into Yale, but not into Princeton. And the third one got into all three of their top schools.
Period.
And it ruined their friendship. It was all over my TikTok page.
Well, then it was never a very strong friendship.
So,
Cause I can't say that I wouldn't be jealous if one of my friends got into Brown and I didn't. But I can't say that it would end our friendship, like unless I was looking for a reason to cut you off. Like, you know.
yeah, but I feel like you would do it because you were already trying to end it.
Yeah.
Like you were already to the point where you didn't care.
Yeah, where I'm looking for a reason to cut you off.
Yeah. Okay, quote of the day. I love college because people can cry or sleep anywhere they want and everyone just kind of understands.
Okay.
You don't see people crying or sleeping anywhere?
No, I stay in my room or I go
You
to
do
work.
stay in your room, okay.
Or I go to work, yeah.
Song of the day.
My song of the day is gonna be Exit Music by Radiohead.
My song of the day is gonna be not that song. Um, mm, Nobody's Perfect by J. Cole. Well, with that all being said, don't miss out on all the fun, laughter, wisdom, and tears. Don't forget to
Put your mama on.
subscribe to Deep College Thoughts on YouTube. Also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Deep College Thoughts. My personal is at jotty.2real.
Mine is Kayla_Mo with 4 E's.
And until next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.